Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to our event, parent education event on Wellness Choices. We appreciate you taking the time to come out in the cold to hear from our speakers today. I'd like to start with a couple of thank yous. First to Cable Access TV and another of my PTO colleagues, Tom Bolton, who's at the back there with the camera. They're both here to record the seminar and to live stream it via the HCAT Facebook page. On the screen to the side of me, you'll see the details of how to access the live stream. These details were posted on social media this afternoon, but if you'd like to take a moment to send them on to anybody who couldn't be here this evening, then please feel free to do so before you silence your phones for the speakers. As you know, Parent Education runs an extensive programme of events throughout the year, all made possible through your membership donations. Membership runs for a school year, so if you haven't already renewed your membership this year, there's still time to do so. Just go on to hollistonpto.org and you can sign up for as little as $20. Those membership fees make it possible for us to run these events free of charge. Tonight, we are extremely fortunate to welcome ambassadors in the field of wellness. This is one event where I'm sure you will leave equipped with greater knowledge of your personal choices than when you arrived. Before we get started, I'll briefly explain the format for tonight. In a moment, I'll hand over to our keynote speaker, Kristi Marsh. Kristi is the author of the award-winning book, Little Changes, and the founder of the Savvy Women's Alliance, a national group with the goal of creating a network to engage, educate, and empower consumers in their purchasing decisions. Kristi holds many accolades, as you'll see here. Among them, Washington Post has recognized her as one of the faces of the GMO movement, and she has testified in our own state house and presented at our nation's capital, Tosca Reform. We'll be giving away 6 copies of Kristi's book today at the event. If you've registered your details at sign-in, then you've been entered into the draw. So if anybody hasn't, then please let me know and I'll add you to the list. If you're not lucky enough to win one, you can consider purchasing at the end of the session. Kristi will be happy to chat with you and to sign your book. Kristi will talk to you more about her amazing journey, and believe me, it is an incredible journey. I've heard Kristi speak twice, and she's phenomenal. Janna Saeed, local businesswoman and mum of 2, compliments Kristi by offering some startling statistics on US legal requirements for everyday products to come to market, and practical tips on where to find alternatives to the familiar local brands that you see in supermarkets and outlets nearby. Again, I can speak from experience here. Having moved to the UK from the US a couple of years ago, I purchased the exact same product that I used in the UK, only to suffer a skin reaction from my American-bought product. I couldn't understand why until I took a closer look at the ingredients. I'll leave Janna to expand on this and why it happens. Lastly, but by no means least, we'll hear from Lisa Kocian, a member of the Holliston School Committee and co-chair of the Wellness Council, and also a Holliston mum. Lisa will share the collaborative efforts of educators and parents to promote wellness in the community. We'll have time for questions at the end of the presentations and invite you to take advantage of our speakers' knowledge at that time. So now I'm proud to welcome Kristi Marsh. Kristi.
I like in the intro that you have these startling statistics. I get all the fun pieces. I love being part of how the setup is this evening because we have 3 different aspects of a topic. And we've referred to it a couple of times in here as wellness. I heard a little bit of safe or safer products. And I'm going to use the word or the phrase loosely, non-toxic products. And that's just a phrase, really. And I want to kind of just dive into that for a second because I think it means something different to everyone. And there may be a lot of people here this evening who are actually just here to learn what the heck it means. You might be curious or skeptical or not even sure what this new popular phrase is all about. So to me, it's about health. That's it. Just health. But if I go around presenting to different groups, I was in Tampa the last couple of days launching one of our chapters, and I said our talk is about health, then you might think, oh, we're going to learn about reducing our our blood pressure. Or if the school nurse was here, maybe she was going to talk about washing our hands before we eat lunch. Sometimes we refer to health or healthier products as safe products. But if we talk about this in terms of safety, then you might think, oh, well, maybe it's about wearing a helmet when I go bicycle riding. So really, the definition that I'd like to throw out there for tonight's purposes is one of environmental health. So this is the idea that the items that we bring into our homes, whether it's cosmetics or cleaning products or our food, we have influence over these products. And they actually have influence over our bodies. They can interact with the health of our bodies. Sometimes this is a new concept. Back in the 1960s, it was an aha moment for our own culture here in the United States that we would have such an impact on our environment, that we could have an impact on the standards of our water and our air and our soil. And now we're having this reverse thought of the same things. Our air and our water and our soil can have an impact on our very own bodies. So we're going to talk a little bit about tonight on different aspects of this topic. And I think each of us come from a different place and a different journey. And I think that's a really important piece of it is our journeys. So a quick question before we get started. Is there anyone in here that might identify with being raised in a very environmentally conscious family? That you were raised in a family that recycled and understood organic, and no one's raising your hands right away. We got a little bit kind of feeling good about that there too. They're good. That's actually pretty good for the communities around here. I think that's really good. Most of us, for the most part, we came into this world of non-toxic living through a trigger. Something sparked our thoughts, something sparked our curiosity, and has led us down this journey. And I love watching this. I've had a chance to travel across the country and talk to different groups and learn about these triggers as bringing people into the movement. So, for example, maybe you read a blog post or a book, and it really got you curious and you started wanting to learn. A lot of people will learn, those in their mid-20s or so, early 30s, when they decide that they want to get pregnant. And they're, how do I have a cleaner body? How do I prep my body for pregnancy? I want to do this the best I can. And so they start embracing this idea. So I'm not so concerned about those who are in their teens to early 20s right now, because when they decide to embrace this topic of non-toxic living, they do it with a commitment and an understanding, and yes, I'm going for it. Those in their 20s and early 30s who are starting new families, they embrace this topic and they go for it. My love is a particular demographics just over that age group and beyond who are very busy. They're working, they're volunteering, they're raising families, and haven't had a chance to really dig into this topic. I refer to us as the everyday me's, and that's where I love to spend my time in the world. I actually think of myself as an everyday me. Yes, I've testified, and I love talking about GMOs and your right to know about them, and we can talk about BPA and all that kind of great stuff, but I really consider myself a mainstream everyday me. I was raised in California, moved over here to Boston about 20 years ago when my husband was transferred for work, and I had this chance to be a stay-at-home mom. When we moved here, I had Tanner, and then I had Kyle, and then I had Katie. And for many years, that's what I was doing, keeping busy. I was event planning, organizing, involved in the community. It was chaotic, but it was a very deeply gratifying part of my life. I loved being a stay-at-home mom. And I can remember one trip of ours, we went up to Maine and we were skiing, and let's see, Tanner was about 7 then, Kyle 5, and Katie 3, finally off the hip, down onto the ground. And we were doing a ski trip. I was packing up for the day and taking a shower, thinking about the things I needed to do, and I came across my lump. I discovered the lump that 1 in 8 women in our country will either be diagnosed with discover themselves, or find too late. Mine was a stage 3 breast cancer tumor up against my chest wall, the size of a Reese's peanut butter cup. And it had started to spread out to my armpits. So I was 35 at this time. I had no family history, the little ones to keep me busy. And my breast cancer required several years of chemotherapy and operations. And this is where my trigger happened in my journey. I mean, I was health-focused. I went to the gym. I was all into what kind of superfoods should I feed my babies. And I thought I was doing everything that I could. But in this moment, this period of time in my life of taking chemotherapy, I had my aha moment. So if you've had a chance to take care of someone who's going through chemotherapy, then you know that chemotherapy is actually a toxin. It is a poison. I'm not saying that like alarmist, ooh, it's a dog. It is a toxin. It goes into our bodies because it has a purpose to eradicate and decimate any rogue cancer cells. And we choose to do this. This is an option, a choice. It goes through our bodies, our legs, and our arms, and it goes out there and it looks for any random rogue cancer cell left. But as it does, it also takes out white blood cells and red blood cells and the lining of the stomach and the roof of the mouth and hair cells. And then you have this wonderful moment where your body starts to heal and put all those tiny little pieces back together and regrow. And you know this because if you caretake for a chemotherapy patient, then they go home, they heal for a couple of weeks, and then they get just strong enough that the doctors say, okay, you can take it again, and bring them down to their lowest functioning levels. So it wasn't the chemotherapy or the cancer that was my trigger into this world. It was the idea that I was able to witness my body heal and regrow and rebuild. White blood cells, red blood cells, stomach lining of the mouth, hair cells took way too long, let me tell you. But it started to heal. And I thought to myself, if I get a second chance at this, why would I ever do anything to compromise my body? It has an obsession to give me this best life possible. And that was that moment that my life changed course. And then I realized this isn't about being stay-at-home mommy Kristi. This isn't about being cancer patient Kristi. This is every single one of us. Every single day when we wake up, this is what our bodies are doing. They are fighting to give us the best life possible. So what can we do in our daily life through little changes? How can we choose wiser to influence what we're bringing in contact with our body? I wanted to know. I went out and I went on a quest. I wanted to learn everything that I could. I wanted a healthier body for myself, and I wanted a healthier body for those little children of mine. And my husband, he wanted a healthier body too. He just didn't know it yet. I'm going to get there. So I went on this quest, and we started to learn. And at first, of course, I was reading books and took in as much as I could. And I started to talk to the scientists in the movement, and I learned about things like parabens and endocrine disruptors and neurotoxins. And they weren't far, far away, kept in laboratories. There were things that were in products, that were in our cosmetics, in our furniture, in our cleaning products. And I just had this one wish at the time, which was, I just want my friends to have the chance to understand this, the chance to know. It's not that they don't want to know. It's not that they're against this. It's just that they're just as busy as I am. I had a mommy time out. I had time to learn, and I want them to have the chance to make these decisions. So I ordered a screen off of Craigslist. I think it was 1972 creaky thing, and then pulled a little luggage suitcase, and I ran around the town of Easton and went to little mom's nights out clubs, and I think they came for the appetizers and wine, but that's okay. I was able to go out and really mess up their lives by telling them this stuff. And I started to get used to the message and talking to them and their questions and what they wanted to learn. And within several months, I was speaking at Brigham and Women's hospitals and then flying around to universities and speaking around the country. And it was really exciting because we could start to learn in rooms like this about things like, well, how do I choose? What can I do? What do I need to learn about cosmetics and cleaning products and food and the food that we bring into our homes? And it got bigger and bigger until the workshop was now 4 hours long, which is absolutely crazy because who would want to come to that? So I decided to write Little Changes, who became my fourth little child. 13 ounces, 11 inches long. She's out there doing great things in the world all by herself now. But I love observing how we interact as women and in our communities. And we don't often, especially in this part of the country, maybe some other parts of the country, people talk like this, but we don't often go up to the front of the school or over into the grocery store and say, hey, did you hear what's happening with BPA lately? We don't do that. We have this thing about not becoming that person or not sure if we can talk about it. And that prevents us from learning more. But you know where we do talk like that? In book clubs. And when we read books, and if you're in a book club, how many of those books that you've read have been about a woman's journey? A red tent, a midwife. There's a ton of women's journeys. You're thinking you're reading about the character, but really you're learning about a whole culture. And so that's the way I wrote Little Changes, was by sharing my journey with humor and emotion and all these relatable parts about, laying in the bottom of the closet and crying, because, I don't know, maybe we all do that at some point or another, but have some really nice moments in there. And then along the way, you learn about non-toxic living in the other pieces. So I love what happened with Little Changes. It went out into the world, but I also felt like that really wasn't it. I had a chance to volunteer for the nonprofits in our movement, things like the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics, Safer States, who work with state legislation. I had a chance to work on safe cosmetics legislation, national, in our state house on GMO, and your right to know about that in our foods. And I had this chance to go around and be part of this, but really my heart really was still with the everyday me's. And I always sat and wondered, what is it that's preventing us from moving forward? What is it from preventing us from talking about this in the same way that we might say, kids are spending too much time on their screens? We might talk about that in a more casual way. We might say things like, keep your social security number hidden. There could be identity theft. Okay, these are different things that are simple that we could talk about and share, but we're not quite yet there in this type of topic. What is it that prevents people from wanting to know more about this topic? This is a question I'd like to ask to you. What are your thoughts? Yes?
Personal habits.
Personal habits? Like what? I mean, not specifically, but what would do?
Well, where you go grocery shopping and that, I feel when I start speaking about this that I don't want to get too personal with somebody about like what their choices are, what they decide to do, like I'm better.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It's almost two topics in one that you brought up in there, and one of them is the habits of to find other stores, other resources, other sources of where you're going to get your meat or your veggies, or it's change. And it's almost as if change itself is the barrier, even if you know you're moving towards the right direction. Absolutely. What else? What prevents people from wanting to learn?
I think for me, when I talk to people or I think about talking to people about it, and I find that people are resistant to hearing about it and they sort of put up a wall and get a little bit defensive about it. And I thought about that. And I think that it's because people don't want to feel like they're not doing everything they can for their kids. But it's also a little bit overwhelming to think about all of the things that they could be doing differently. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to find the time.
Yeah, there's a sensation for a lot of people of a guilt factor. If I'm not doing enough, am I not being perfect? Am I not, I have come to find out that it isn't a list that can be checked off and be done. If it could be checked off and be done, then we could say we were perfect and we could get a gold star and move on. But it turns out that in our culture, in our generation, that so much science is coming out every single year on this, that it's a journey. We're all learning, every single one of us, and we will always continue to learn. So why not make it an adventure and a fun journey as well? Even those who are movement makers or policy creators or scientists, they are all still creating changes in their own home. Talking to someone who works with the pesticide atrazine and mice, and yet she still hadn't changed out milk, and she wanted to still make a better choice in that in her home. So finding these things out and realizing there is no perfect. There is no end or no perfect. We're all just moving towards things in the best way that we can with the resources that we have in our own communities. That's very good. Thank you. What else prevents people? Yes?
I also think there's a cost factor involved that you need to push upon people, and even just availability, talking about furniture. Have you tried to find an eco-friendly couch? I mean, if you get a real eco-friendly couch, it's thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're asking somebody to consider that as opposed to, paying the $700 you might ordinarily spend. And people just either have issues with their doing that, or they just really don't have the resource.
Absolutely. I think that is probably one of the top 3 things that deter people from embracing this topic of non-toxic living is the perception of cost. I think that it was a 100% thing several decades ago. I think in the last 10 years, it has become more and more accessible to be able to find brand name labels within Target or even their store brand labels that are more accessible and affordable than the regular ones is a nice place that we're finally in. There's a lot of great places that we can find to save money as well, and that's something fun to share. I agree. I think it's one of the top things. Someone else was going to? Yes.
When I talk to people about non-toxic products and I'm trying to explain them the danger, I found that a lot of people don't want to change the products that they're using, that they have been using for years and years, because they don't want to think that they have been using those products for years and years, and they don't want to hear that those products might be toxic. And they also like the smell, and it's a natural on the bottle, so there's no problem. So it always comes to changes as well. But I found that a lot of people don't want to make the changes because they say, I'm healthy, I'm already healthy, I'm fine. So why would I change the product? And we're used to it and we love it. So that's one of the reasons.
Absolutely. I agree. And we're going to, when we change speakers here, we're going to go a little bit more into the details of when we're saying toxic, toxic, toxic right here in this conversation, into what some of those details are in terms of some ingredients can be skin allergens, some can be neurotoxins in furniture, some can be carcinogens in food products, endocrine disruptors. So we'll go into that. But like I mentioned, I like hovering in this world of, I believe that you have the right to know. I'm not here to press on you, you must do this. I just want you to have the choice to be able to learn at your own pace and be able to take this in and weave it into your life so that you can create a healthier and safer home and school and community for you. So where it took me, so everything you said, 100% yes. And that's what I've heard across the country. No matter what state I'm in, I could be in Boulder, Colorado, Portland, Oregon, Tampa Bay, Needham, wherever. This is the same thing I'm hearing over and over. So my next in my life was then to figure out, how can I contribute to this? How can I help? I don't want to write policy and legislation. I don't want to be an elected official. I don't want to start a business. A nonprofit was my path. And the nonprofit is called the Savvy to Learn, Savvy Women's Alliance. And it's chapter-based. I live in Easton, Mass, so most of our chapters started here in Massachusetts. We now have nearly 24 chapters across the country, and it's this idea that, well, people come together, they have a guest speaker or a book club or a movie, and we talk and we share ideas, and we leave and go home and say, hey, I'm going to implement this tonight and do this. You're in one right now, actually. This is what we call a gathering. It's happening right now. So what we've done as a nonprofit, there's a lot of things that we can offer for free, complimentary, right? Addressing the budget issue here. One of the things that we offer is something called 20 budget-friendly tips. And it's 20 emails if people sign up for it. If they choose to implement just those items in 1 year, then those are things that are budget-friendly and don't go up and over the cost of what normally would happen. So that's a nice way to address that piece of it. Another thing is the overwhelmingness of this. I mean, we could talk for crazy talk and how excited I am about this, go on and on and on and talk about it, but it is fairly overwhelming. So with the Savvy Women's Alliance and the nonprofit, one way we decided to address this is take topics 2 months at a time. Okay, well, maybe I could take on the idea of flame retardants. Who wants to learn about flame retardants? I don't want to learn about flame retardants, but I'm going to. And for 2 months, I'm going to read a couple of blog posts, and I'm going to read about the changes, and I'm going to read about a couple of businesses who are offering discounts on that mattress or such, and I'm going to learn about flame retardants. I'm going to make some changes in my home, and I'm going to move forward. And that's how we're going to do this as an organization. 2 months at a time, we can all move forward. Another one is the idea of getting very frustrated. So most of the people wanting to learn about this, we know that our world of technology has all the information that we need out there. We could go online right now and we could stay up till 2 in the morning, click, 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 click. Information, fabulous. It is out there. But what else is out there? Angry, attacking, not welcoming, comments. It's also a world that deters people from learning. So we can go on to try to learn, and all of a sudden we click off and we walk away and say, maybe I'll go do something else today. So I think that that idea of the Savvy Women's Alliance offering chapters where they get together 4, 6, 8 times a year in person is actually the heart of change. That's where change starts to happen. That's when if we said, for example, does anyone use baking soda in here for anything? What do you use it for? Besides cooking? Okay.
I use it to clean.
Clean what?
To clean my bath, my sink.
Using it as a scrub.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I actually, with the aluminum baking soda, I consume it.
And you do what?
I eat it.
For eating it too?
Yes.
Okay. Where we said, so cleaning the bathroom sinks, what else? What else? We had the 17 hands up here. Not everyone cleans their bathroom sink with it. Carpet stains? Ah, nice. And I heard it is also a carpet freshener too. Instead of a fragrance down there, put it down on the carpet. I've actually done that as well. What else?
You can kind of paste it and use it as like a buildup remover in your hair.
Ah. Nice. Oh, I do love that apple cider vinegar. Now, how much does a little box of baking soda cost? 99 cents. How much is right? Okay, now you can go to Costco and get a big one if you were crazy like some of us, right? $3, $4? Okay, now how many products? Okay, this is what happens in a chapter. When we're able, this is not what happens necessarily online. This is what happens when you're in person. We start sharing our wisdom. Because we put ourselves down and we say, oh, I'm not that. I'm not green. I'm not her. I'm not as good as that. But when we're in a room together and we share our wisdom, yes, you are. And that's how we move forward. So that's why and how I came to be and how I established the Savvy Women's Alliance. And I would like to say one more thing before I hand it over to the scary statistics. I'm just kidding. You're adorable. Startling. Yeah, okay. So there's just one more thing I wanted to add to this piece. It wasn't that long ago that some of us here in this room probably can even remember station wagons. Okay, first of all, station wagons. We can remember station, okay? playing in the back of the station wagon, beating up your little brother. No, I didn't say that on live TV, sorry. Yes, wrestling with my brother in the back of the station wagon with no seatbelts on. It was the norm. Do you know where babies sat back then? Wherever they wanted, just like right there. My mom would just put me down. What happened? I mean, this action wouldn't stop the baby from flying. I don't understand. I don't understand because there was a cultural shift. And now that is bizarre to me. It still happens. We still may see people ride without their seatbelts. We're not going to judge each other. But the majority, we wear seatbelts now. And that was a culture shift. It was a change in our habits. We had to change how we did things, and we didn't like it, and we didn't want to be told that we had to. We didn't want to be told that we're going to get tickets for it either. But now that is the norm. How many lives have been saved because of that? It's just change. Okay? And before that, a time when smoking was glamorous. It wasn't even cool. It was glamorous. There were smoking sections on airplanes, which makes no sense to me at all. So to have smoking shift and change, yes, people still smoke, but not to the cultural extent that it used to be. And this particular market was one of the most aggressive marketed campaigns that our culture was up against. But yet still, we've succeeded. I was driving down one of the streets in Easton with my kids. It was a summer. So all the windows were down. And no, I hope you're not from here, but I'll go ahead and I started this story. So my kids said, "What is that smell? What is that? We don't recognize it." Right? They're smelling cigarettes out of another car. And they're like, "It smells like New York City. I don't understand." Because they don't smell it in their lives. But we did go to the city, and cities have cigarettes. Sorry, New York. But that's the perception and the difference. How did we do that? How did we create that shift and change in our culture? It's possible. And it's not when a small group is telling everyone that needs to be done. It's when the masses say, "You know what? This is the right thing to do, and I need to embrace it. I can make it fun, or I don't have to make it fun, but we're going to go ahead and embrace it." And how many lives were lost in that one because of how long we delayed those changes? So I believe that it can be done. I wouldn't be committing my entire life, breath, and soul to this idea that you have the right. Not only do you have the right to know, but your impact on your body and your home and your family is incredible. So I hope you follow through on this, and we're going to be talking a little bit more later, but I'll go ahead and bring up the next couple of speakers, and then we'll have a chance to talk and have questions too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for organizing this. I am hopeful that this is going to ignite a conversation around town and beyond surrounding safe choices. My personal non-toxic journey started probably about 10 years ago. Really kicked into high gear 2.5 years ago when I started a small business which allows me to empower other families to live their healthiest lifestyles possible and to offer them safe alternatives to some of the harmful products that they may be using in their homes every day. I, this past fall, launched the Holliston chapter of Savvy Women's Alliance. And one thing is for sure, that living a non-toxic lifestyle is a journey, as Kristi said. We are always learning and always evolving. When we think of good health, it's safe to say, I think, that most of us agree that there are several key factors in that health. Stress, air and water quality, exercise, sleep, diet, all affect our health. However, there is a missing piece that is not yet on everybody's radar, and that is the toxins that we're putting on our bodies. So the European Union bans or restricts over 1,300 chemicals from use in personal care products. And when I speak of personal care products, those are things like shampoo, soap, deodorant, toothpaste, things that the entire family, all of us, use on a daily basis. Any guesses what the U.S. bans or restricts? How many? 0. It's more than 0.
11, I said 11.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say there are no zeros missing. It is 11. So the U.S. bans 11 chemicals from use in personal care products. And when a U.S. company exports their products to Europe, they need to change the ingredients so that it can legally be sold there, which goes right back to what Anne had said earlier, using one product in England, buying the same thing in the United States, and her skin was not happy with that. And she found out the hard way that the formulas here are different. Why do we care about this? We care because personal care products are designed to penetrate the skin, and they do. What goes on your body goes in your body. Think of the estrogen patch and the nicotine patch. Those work for a reason. Dr. Samuel Epstein, the former head of the Cancer Prevention Coalition, wrote a book called Toxic Beauty. And in it, he said that it is more dangerous to put a product on your skin than it is to eat it. Basically, what he was saying is our bodies our liver, our kidneys are designed to filter toxins from our bodies. But our skin does not have that defense. Hold on, I've got this dried. It has to stay wet. Hold on. Throw that there. So the average U.S. woman uses 12 personal care products a day, containing 168 different chemicals. Are all of those chemicals bad? No, they're not all harmful, but many are. The average teen uses 17 products a day, and men use an average of 6, but even they are exposing themselves to 85 chemicals daily. Most of the people here tonight are women, but this is not a women's issue. This affects all of us, everyone in the family, especially the children, which I'm going to get into in more detail in a second. Who's monitoring these products and their safety? Anyone want to guess? Who's in charge here? No one. The FDA would typically be the arm of government to monitor ingredients in personal care products. However, very few ingredients are actually required to be monitored. Any ideas what makes this fine year 1938 so significant in tonight's presentation? Gas was 10 cents a gallon. Yeah, 1938 was the last time the federal law designed to ensure that cosmetics are safe was updated. That's 80 years ago. Normally we would celebrate 80th anniversaries. Not this one. Not if we care about public health. Sorry. It's got to be wet. It cannot dry. Okay. There's a list a mile long of ingredients that we should be avoiding in our products, but in the interest of time, we're going to focus on one, the F word, fragrance. And fragrance is so much more than perfume. Okay? It is added to just about everything. Shampoo, hairspray, deodorant, laundry detergent, candles, room fresheners, and everything in between. A lot of ingredients on the back might want to use the French word parfum. Don't be fooled, right, Sandra? It is actually a catch-all term that manufacturers legally use to hide hundreds of ingredients under the umbrella of fragrance. One of those hidden ingredients is phthalates. Why should we care about phthalates? Well, because research suggests that phthalates are endocrine disruptors. Okay? Phthalates interfere with our hormones and damage our reproductive health. The endocrine system is responsible for all the biological processes in the body. Besides just our hormones, it regulates metabolism, thyroid, and a bunch of other things. We do not want to mess with it, especially during critical stages of childhood development. Babies and children are particularly susceptible due to their rapid growth and their small size. Their bodies do not have the same ability to eliminate toxins in their bodies that adults do. Adolescence is another critical period when the body is rapidly changing and is vulnerable to chemical exposure. What about cleaning products? Well, cleaning products are even harder to decipher because manufacturers and companies do not even have to put the ingredients on the label. We have no idea what's in those bottles. This is an email response I received from a very well-known company that I guarantee you've heard of. I was thrilled to discover that they were making disinfecting wipes using hydrogen peroxide, but I could not for the life of me find the ingredient list, the full ingredient list anywhere. So I emailed them, and this is what I got. Hi, Janna. Thank you for contacting us at Products Division. We appreciate hearing from our consumers. In regards to your inquiry, both the hydrogen peroxide disinfecting cleaners, spray, and wipes contain 1.4% hydrogen peroxide. The other ingredients are proprietary. We hope this information has been helpful. Again, thank you for contacting us. Seriously? Not helpful at all, but thanks for your time. What is the other 98.6% that is in those wipes? We'll never know. Well, maybe, hopefully, someday we will know. We're working on that. I was looking for hydrogen peroxide specifically because it is on the list, the CDC's list of products to kill germs, including the flu viruses. It's a great alternative to bleach because it breaks down into water, so it's safe for the environment. So now I just buy hydrogen peroxide in spray bottles. Here's a common product used to kill germs. When I used to use these products, I confess I never read the label or the directions. So let's walk through the fine print right now. Right next to that beautiful natural lemon and lime, it says keep out of reach of children. When you turn it over and read the directions, how to disinfect, which I think is the reason most people buy these wipes, is to disinfect. We need to wipe hard, non-porous food contact surfaces with the wipe until surface is visibly wet. Okay, I did that. Allow surface to remain wet for 10 minutes. Seriously? I've been standing here for 10 minutes. I cannot keep this wet, and I have to stand here and keep reapplying for 10 minutes. Let air dry. Okay, so don't try to speed up the process by using a paper towel. You need to let it air dry. Rinse food contact surfaces with clean, potable water after disinfecting. I never did that. Wash hands after use. I don't think I did that either. So, two things are for sure. If we are not following these directions, A, we are not killing any germs. We're spreading them around the table, but we're not killing them. And B, we're exposing ourselves and others to harmful chemicals and fragrance, which we know are endocrine disruptors messing with our hormones. If you saw this slide on Jeopardy one night, what would the question be? The answer is, disinformation disseminated by an organization so as to present an environmentally responsible public image. Question, what is? Greenwashing. Yes. What is greenwashing? Greenwashing is alive and well in the US. Think of products being on a spectrum. Some horribly toxic, some perfectly safe. Greenwashing happens somewhere in between. A company will present their product as being green, while using harmful chemicals in the ingredients. You may see a nice pretty leaf on the front. They also like to announce on the front label what's not in the product. Fragrance-free, no parabens, okay? But as consumers, the responsibility lies on us to be able to see through this greenwash marketing and to become ingredient detectives. Here are some common greenwashing words that are perfectly legal for companies to put on their labels. Clean, green, pure, free of, eco, gentle, safe, natural. The FDA does not have the resources or authority under the law for pre-market approval of cosmetic product labeling, straight from the FDA website. And when they say cosmetics, it is things that we are all using, our entire family is using every day. It's not just makeup, remember. Clear or white bottles are very misleading. Switching from an orange bottle to a white one may not be as green and safe as you think. Here's a classic example of greenwashing. When you looked at the front, if you were to look at the front of this bottle, the words free and gentle are in the name of the product. Also on the front of the bottle, it says free of dyes and perfumes. Okay, that's good. On the back of the bottle made from 25% or more post-consumer recycled plastic. Okay, 25%, I guess, better than zero. Nice capital bold letters, contains no phosphate. Okay, so we know what's not in there. But what is in there is nowhere on the label. Nowhere on the bottle can we find out what is in there. Well, you can find the ingredients on a website called the EWG Healthy Cleaning website, where they grade thousands of home cleaning products. They give them a grade from A to F. It's very helpful. Anyone want to guess what this product got as a grade? F. You don't get any worse than F. Okay? So this green, what they call it, free and gentle laundry detergent in the white bottle received an F because of concerns surrounding asthma, skin irritation, reproductive toxicity, cancer, and the environment. It hits all 5 categories of concern. Frustrating, a little bit. So, deep breath. Now that we know, what do we do? How do we find safe products without getting a PhD in chemistry first? I don't have time for that. I don't want to go get a PhD. There are a couple apps that you may find very helpful. The Silent Spring Institute is out of Newton, Mass. And they are led by researchers dedicated to science that serves the public interest, particularly surrounding women's health and breast cancer. Their groundbreaking studies have opened new doors to the health risks associated with toxins in where we work and live, areas that have been ignored in cancer research. This app is called Detox Me, and it helps people eliminate sources of toxic chemicals from their environment. So the first slide there, the first picture, the circle, around the circle are 6 categories: cleaning, food and drink, children, because children are toxic. No, I don't think that's what they meant. Clothing, personal care, and home. So you can click on one of those categories and then you learn tips. You can track your progress, set reminders, and earn badges as you go. So that's the middle screen. It kind of gives you, it'll say something in it. You can click whether you want to proceed with that or not. They also have an action kit, which is a simple urine test that detects the presence of 10 common household chemicals that can accumulate in your body. So you send them your P and a fee, and they will send you a personalized report that compares your results to other people in the study. The EWG is the Environmental Working Group, And their mission is to use the power of information to protect human health and the environment. They recently combined two of their apps, one called the Skin Deep app, which is products we put on our skin, and their Food Scores app, which gives scores to food. The Skin Deep database has been around since 2004 and profiles over 72,000 products and 2,000 brands. Their staff scientists compare ingredient labels with nearly 60 toxicity databases and then gives each product an overall score. And then up on those three barometers there give you a better indication of where it ranks with allergy, cancer, and developmental concerns. And then underneath that, you see there are more specific rankings for each individual ingredient in that product. So the green one is water. Yay for water. The red one, fragrance. Boo, fragrance, right? We all know that now. The food scores part of this app is different from other nutrition apps because the EWG also takes into consideration ingredient concerns like hormones and pesticides and additives, as well as the degree of processing that the food has gone through. So then they, through their algorithm, give each food product a rank from 1 to 10. So as overwhelming as this seems, there is hope. There is hope. There are safe, truly safe ingredients on the market. And remember that little changes can make a big positive impact. I encourage you to share what you learned here tonight with your friends and your family. I encourage you to use these apps and empower your teens to use the apps as well. I encourage you to find a group of like-minded people that will support you on this journey and will help you muddle through these murky waters together. If you want to hear more about the Holliston chapter of Savvy Women's Alliance, Kristi or I will be happy to share that with you afterwards. There's also some postcards if you just want to take some information and go home. That's on the way out that way. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Okay, so my name's Lisa Kocian. I am a member of the Holliston School Committee. I'm one of 7, and I'm also co-chair of the Wellness Council. My co-chair, Alex Bussinger, is here tonight as well. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the Wellness Council is up to, and just a quick peek at some of the things that I think you'll be interested in from a wellness perspective on the school committee side. Spoiler alert, not enough and not fast enough. I can guarantee it. There are so many changes, and we're just trying to keep up. I'm also the mom of a 2nd grader. I only have one. He has ADHD, so it feels like 2, but I only have one. So I will start with the Wellness Council. So the Wellness Council is a relatively new group. There was a Wellness Council years ago in Holliston, and it went dormant. And we relaunched this past spring. And we are a group of 17 volunteers, educators, and parents. And it happened a little bit by kismet. I was working on cafeteria changes, and Alex, who I didn't know, another mom, was working on more physical activity and getting kids outside. And the superintendent brought us together and said, you two should talk. And the 3 of us decided that we would relaunch the Wellness Council to work on all of these different issues. So we don't have a particular mandate. We just ask a lot of questions and try to support what we think are good wellness choices. So the members are also, it's a really diverse group of people. It's really interesting. We have a lot of expertise, and we're still trying to figure out what to do with all of this expertise. We have a school psychologist from another district. We have a nutritionist. We have someone, another parent in town who is an educational neuroscientist. So it's an incredible, diverse, interesting group of people. And from the educational side, we have the nurse leader, we have the head of student services, so there's a lot of expertise in the room.
we decided for this first year or two, since wellness is such a broad topic, after a lot of brainstorming, we decided to just focus on 3 particular areas, which, you know, they're pretty big in and of themselves. But we divided ourselves up into 3 kind of subgroups. So we have physical activity, nutrition, and social emotional wellness. So, you know, there are lots of other aspects to wellness, and we talked about that, but we decided just to focus on those 3 for now, and how we can promote all good things in those areas. So physical activity, and none of this, the Wellness Council can't do any of this stuff on its own. We have to work with, you know, we have to kind of collaborate and work with the administration and work with teachers and get people excited about stuff that we want to do. So one thing that we've tried to support is Laps at Lunch at Miller. This was a program at Adams. And we're just trying to get the word out, get parent volunteers, and it's just a simple thing. Talk about little changes. This is a perfect example. It's just a way for kids to get a little physical activity at lunchtime, just a little bit of a movement break in their day. But they need parents there to kind of help supervise, you know, all these 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders running around. So that's one thing that we've tried to help with. Nutrition. So we started off very simply, and it was just getting rid of like some of the processed desserts from the lunch menu, things like Jell-O and pudding and, you know, kind of low-hanging fruit. And now we're working on getting some healthier snacks. I'd like to get rid of, my dream, dream big, would be to get rid of like the Doritos and the Pop-Tarts and the, you know, sugary cereal / sugary yogurt meal. But we have to get some more healthy options in there first before we can start taking away stuff. So we're working on that. And we're also talking to the Agricultural Commission in town, and we're hoping to do some kind of farm-to-school parent education event. So we're working on that. In the area of social-emotional, we are still kind of trying to find our way. We have some ideas. We're thinking about doing some type of teen-parent dialogue or teacher-student dialogues, trying to get people talking about some of the perceptions around stress. The social-emotional piece is a particular passion of mine. We have seen numbers on anxiety and all sorts of really scary mental health indicators go up in the last few years, and I'm just going to give you a couple of them. We participate in something called the Metro West Youth Behavior Survey, and Holliston middle schoolers who report that life is very stressful has gone from 11.9%, so this is 7th and 8th graders in Holliston, 11.9% said life was very stressful in 2006. In 2016, that number was 23.3%, so more than, or right about doubled. The percentage of middle schoolers who reported they considered suicide over the same period went from 7.5% to 13.9%. And Holliston is no different than any of the surrounding towns. This is going on all over. And we could have a whole other discussion about why. But I think the social emotional piece in particular needs a lot of attention. And the administration and both the central office administration and the principals are working on this. And we just got a report about a lot of new initiatives, and there's good things happening. But the Wellness Council, part of our job is to keep pushing and coming up with more ideas and try to keep momentum going. So that's what we're working on. On the school committee side, and I'm just speaking for myself here, I'm one of 7 school committee members, can't speak for the whole group, definitely not speaking for the administration, but I wanted to just let you guys know about a few things that are in our wheelhouse. Some of you have probably heard about school start times. That debate came out of the Superintendent's Task Force on Student Stress, which my co-chair participated in a couple of years ago. One of the recommendations was to look at school start times. Tons of evidence that when you can delay start times for adolescents, even by 30 minutes, you get all these great benefits. Anxiety goes down, car accidents go down, sports injuries go down. That said, the logistics are really difficult. So we have 3 school committee members, and I'm not on this particular subcommittee. 3 other school committee members have been working really hard to tear apart this issue and get lots of public opinion and look at all the research and try to figure out where to go next. And they just gave us their report based on a big survey they did that some of you probably participated in. And we decided as a full school committee to focus on just one option. So we're going to dive a little deeper into that. So this is not something that's going to be happening next year. It may never happen. It's something that we have to, eventually make a decision on. And, there's still a lot of information to get. I am leaning in the direction of anything that has that many benefits for our kids, even though I know the logistical stuff is going to be really hard for a lot of people. Something that is much more immediate, one of our main purviews is the budget. The school committee, we have three main purviews. We do policy, and I'm actually working on updating the wellness policy right now. We hire and evaluate the superintendent, and we work on the budget. And so the administration, the principals, and the superintendent just gave us their strategic improvement initiatives about a week ago, and that's really the first step in formulating our budget for the next school year. And there's some really good things in there that are wellness related that I thought you guys might be interested in. They're asking for another school psychologist. There are 3 in the district now. This would give us 4, so we'd actually have 1 for each school. They're also asking for another elementary nurse. There are 2 now for Placentino and Miller, but the state recommendation based on the number of kids we have is really closer to 3. And then there's there's several special education requests, including a new part-time early childhood coordinator for preschool children. Now, not all of that is going to make it into the budget. These are all things that we're going to have to kind of grapple with. But I think I can go to my last slide. And for those of you who are not just passionate about wellness, but passionate about public policy, these are some of the dates to look out for. We're going to be getting our proposed budget for the superintendent coming up February 1st. On March 1st is the first time we vote for our budget. Then we present it to the FinCom, the Finance Committee, on March 6th. And then on April 5th, we'll have a public hearing on the budget. And then May 7th is when town meeting begins. And it's not the school committee, it's not the superintendent, and it's not even the finance committee that decides the budget. Ultimately, it's town meeting. It's whoever shows up to town meeting to vote on the budget. All we do is put forth a recommendation. So for those of you who are interested, you can talk to me a little bit more about that. I think that was my last slide. That's it. So I just want to thank all of you guys so much for coming out, and thank you to the PTO for having me. And I'm excited to hear what kind of questions you guys all have.
I just was I've always wondered, how can the European Union, test or monitor 1,300 plus products and we can only do 11 here?
So the question is, how can they test and monitor so much more ingredients and chemicals than we can? So I don't know how they do it. Actually, they have a whole different program that's much more proactive than us. They take a precautionary approach. They're able to dig in and look at them and analyze them with a more aggressive approach than we do. We just don't have the resources, the backing, and the policy set up to do so. So one of the things that we were involved with over the last few years is working on something called TSCA reform, which is this Toxic Substance Control Act. And so that we can start looking and analyzing, and through our federal government, to analyze and look for assessment of safety of these chemicals. So one of the things when we were talking about EWG up there, the app, and it rates things in nice colors and A through F, one of the things that EWG truly is trying to share is that when you look into it, so many of those chemicals that they're rating up there have no safety assessments. So we can glance at it and say, oh, it's perfect, it's an A. But we also need to look at, does it even have a safety assessment here in the United States? Are they drawing, using upon reports and academics used in other countries is one way to do that. But that is really kind of the big picture over all of this, is that we're lacking significant amount of safety data on the chemicals. In the meantime, our industries are bringing out more and more chemicals every single year without the data that we need.
I'd like to just say, when I get that question, my short response is the European Union and many other countries, including Australia and Japan, are very proactive, and the U.S. is more reactive.
All about prevention. The health system is taken care by the government, so it's their interest to keep you healthy. It's not run by money, they want you to be healthy. So that's one of the reasons why there are so many harmful chemicals that are banned in France, in Europe, because our system is different. It's not really based on money, it's based on like prevention. They want you to be healthy because that costs them money if you're sick. So they don't want you to have disease. They want you to be healthy. So everything is based on prevention. And that's why so many of the harmful chemicals are not in our products. And people are aware of it too. That's it. Yeah.
Any more questions? I'd like to ask, where do you actually begin? I think, Kristi, you gave us some good examples of taking a 2-month project, but how do you even decipher amongst all of those topics and all of those issues out there? How do you narrow it down and even know which blog sites to read? And how do you know where to get information that is factual information and not just somebody's opinion? Where do you go to really start finding out about this?
That was more than one question. I like to think of this as standing in the hub of a 10-speed bicycle, and every little inch that you turn is another spoke going out and another path that you can take and learn about. So it really can be either overwhelming, as we talked about earlier, or it's just an idea that you're going to go down these different roads. I mean, it could be maybe you want to get pet chickens and raise those for eggs. Maybe you want to learn to get a new lotion or a candle, and every different little path takes you down a new road. Personally, I think that there's 2 things to this answer. One of them is do what you love, what you're interested in. Are you excited to learn? Do you like cosmetics and learning about beauty in that world? Then start there and start changing out, okay, this week I'm going to change out just my lotion and move forward and go through that direction. The other thing I would say to start, my number one thing is to don't do it alone. Don't do this alone. You're going to do all the work when if you did it with 2 or 3 or 8 or 10 other people, you're combining your wisdom. For myself, I ended up doing it with 2 girlfriends, and within months, we're texting each other, hey, there's a sale on Costco with this. Can you get me one? You betcha. And we grab over this, and one person loved to do all the research, and someone else loved to create. So I would say do it with other people.
Now, I know that some of the schools are starting to ask questions about how parents can help. Janna, I know that you've had a meeting with some of the Placentino administration. I wondered if you could just share a little bit about that so that people that are here can share that with their own networks as well.
So yeah, Carrie Mullen and I, who's a scientist, met with some of the staff at, not the staff, but the administration at Placentino last January, and through conversation, we all agreed that we can start small, and they are making the concerted effort at Placentino to use safe wipes in the classrooms. So that's one way that we're starting, and it's at Placentino, and hopefully we'll expand to the rest of the schools. Although I have talked to someone at the high school, and I don't think a lot of people use the same stuff. You don't use as much as you do in an elementary classroom. But yeah, we're hoping to spread that, at least that. And then from there, we can look at maybe a next step. What else can we swap out slowly?
Are you planning on talking to Miller?
There are no set plans. my son will be in Miller next year, so it'll be next year. So yeah, definitely by next year, yeah.
I was wondering if Lisa, if the school committee has thought about, more safe products, like the cleaning products or anything like that, or if we can start having that discussion, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely been discussion. I've already heard a little bit of pushback. So I think that there is concern in some classes that the cleaner, greener products won't kill the flu as well, or won't kill, there was one classroom that had hand, foot, mouth 3 times in the last 2 months or something like that. So I think that there is still a long way to go in terms of getting the message out there. I think that there is still a long way to go in terms of education, and you guys are the experts. I'm not the expert on this, but I think that if we do want to go to a more green cleaning environment in all the schools, there's going to have to be a lot more grassroots discussion in terms of getting people on board, because I've definitely heard concerns from some of the staff about whether or not the products will completely eradicate all the germs that go around. But in terms of, that probably is a little too specific for something that the school committee would do. Even though we do policy, we tend to do much higher level. We don't get necessarily into that granular of a detail, and the 7 of us probably would not agree on exactly what cleaning products we should be using. So that's the kind of thing that the most appropriate place to have those conversations is the way you're doing it now. It's through the building administration, because the building administration knows their staff, knows the building, knows the practices, and can make those decisions more appropriately.
And that's one of the reasons I actually brainstormed with Annie about creating this event tonight, because I did want to educate the masses. Like, I wanted parents to know the startling statistics. And, like with those wipes that, I used to use that in the yellow bottle, that, if we're not using them according to the directions, they're not killing anything anyway. So it is educating everybody, and which is why I'm here and why you're here, and hopefully you can tell your friends and they can tell their friends, and so on and so on.
I'd like to give a little example, if I could, of some of the communities I've seen go through what you're embarking on. And I think this community is simmering and ready to embrace a lot of these changes. I think it's really an exciting time. So I referenced that I was from Easton, and when I moved to Easton, again, from California, Easton wasn't recycling at the time. I drove to Bellingham for any of the produce or anything that I wanted at the Whole Foods there. It was an oasis in Easton when I started going through these changes. So we mentioned book clubs, sharing information and education. So little changes started through book clubs in Easton. At the same time, Carrie, who you just referred to, who is a scientist, moved to Easton, and she brought with her the Eco Moms Alliance, an organization, a chapter-based organization at the same time. Within 3 years, the women's population in Easton was talking, discussing, sharing in a way that hadn't been before. Within 3 years, we brought an organic CSA farm to our town, 3 farmers markets. We have a farm-to-table restaurant. We have now the schools changing. We have Green Committee in the town, and the schools changing happens, and you can watch it from the levels of the women involved on up through the school. So I'm older, my kids are in the high school grade, and the high school hasn't been impacted yet. But you can see each of the elementary schools starting to have school gardens. Then you get the middle school. They took out the styrene trays from the cafeterias. And it is because exactly what is happening in here, it's a combination of working together and working things. Part of it was understanding our want, say, as moms of the children, of now, while my kids are in school, and this urgency, because we're protective. And what is happening on the other side is the turning is like a cruise ship making a U-turn. Kayak, whoop, cruise ship, right? But it does happen. Don't lose faith. Just keep communicating, keep talking. If you need the science on the cleaning products, you know, we live in Massachusetts, so a very science-based state. UMass Lowell and the Toxic Use Reduction Institute has a lot of information like this, and it just helps clarify. So I'm just saying, and do you use Chartwells? Is Chartwells the cafeteria provider? No? Okay, so it's all good. It's happening.
Yeah. I love the analogy of the cruise ship, because this is my 3rd year on school committee. And when I was first elected, you know, you go in guns blazing, and, you know, I was all about cafeteria food was one of my big things. And I got excited that I got them to get rid of putting in Jell-O cups. Like, that was a big day. It's hard. Change is hard. And there are some frustrating reasons why change is hard, but there are also some good reasons. And the cruise ship tells you kind of everything about that. There's a lot of logistics. There are logistics beyond anything I could have appreciated before I started digging in and doing some of this work. So keep the faith. You know, it's another, I'm going to throw out another cliche, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And, you know, I think that if everyone in this room who cares about wellness issues keeps, you know, nudging and talking and nudging your friends, that you will see the changes that you want. You know, it never happens as fast as you want it to, though.
I just had a follow-up question about the cleaning of the desks and that type of thing. I mean, I understand how you have to kind of get parents who might donate supplies and teachers to buy into it, but what about the cleaning products the whole school uses, the cleaning people use? I mean, does everyone have to buy into that? Who's choosing which products? And the cleaning people who come in every night and do all the classrooms, what are they using? And is that something that can be decided at a higher level?
Yeah, I can't answer what they're using. I think we've changed in the last couple of years, but I don't think that's a conversation that anyone has had.
Because it seems to me that's a bigger impact than a teacher wiping a couple of desks every day.
I don't really think that people who clean at night, sorry, this is getting nitty gritty, but I don't think they wipe down the tables. I think that's the teacher.
But anything that they use,
they vacuum and stuff. I think they primarily vacuum. I work at Boston,
I think those are fantastic ideas, because none of the ideas are wrong ideas at all. Some are the smaller, quicker ideas, and some are the long-term must-do ideas. And one of the best things to do is to find other school districts in the country who have already done this. There is another organization called Project Green Schools National, and they do exactly what you're talking about here. They work with the schools, with the administrations, with the teachers. They're based out of Manfield. Robin Organ is the founder of that. I talk about her in Little Changes. So it exists out there, and by having the model out there, when we approached administration, do we have administration in the room? Watching TV. So when we approach the administration, it's most often it's not that they're against it, or it's just simply not on their radar. They're working on the other topics of suicide, anxiety, and MCAS, I'm sure, and things like that. So it's just the idea of saying, hey, you know, here's a group of us. We'd like to look into this, and here's some stuff. We've done all the work for you, and make those changes that direction.
Cleaning aisle, and you tell them, oh, well, this green cleaner is 3 times the cost of what you normally buy, and that's a hard sell for a lot of people. You know, you can talk all day about the health benefits of it, but you know, when you talk about school district, you multiply that by how much. When you talk about hand soap in the bathroom, so the Project Green Schools is something that really interests me, because if there's other administrations that have made it work, that's what we need to start talking about.
And we never have enough.
No, exactly. Like, you know, I'm not going to be shouting it from the rooftops about getting new hand soap in the classrooms because I understand that hands are tied, you know, when it comes to the budget for this stuff.
Some of the other ideas, and we're to the audience out there, so we were talking about cost. Cost is one of the drivers here. Absolutely. When your school committee is looking at a budget and they're looking at it and the town is approving it. So in our community, the debate on being able to get styrene trays, which is what the children picked up to carry a slice of pizza to the table and then they threw away, and the styrene trays don't decompose, they stay in our environment forever. So to get that done was a difference between analyzing, well, if we get rid of styrene trays and use the plastic ones that we may have grown up on, well, then we need a dishwasher. Or the alternative is maybe a cornstarch-based one, but that's X amount of cents more. So it goes back to that. So there are other options. What if one of the popular and something that's very embraceable is school gardens. Doing them over, they go across our summers here in Massachusetts, but doing school gardens, they happen here at some of our schools?
I'm sorry, say
school
that.
Gardens?
It's happened off and on.
Okay. So something like that, you're involving the science teachers, you're involving health, you're involving so many different classrooms at the same time.
One of the things we talked to when a couple of us from the Wellness Council met with the town's Agricultural Commission, and that was one of the things we talked about. There is garden space. I think some of it's been used off and on, but we're trying to figure out some ways that we can work with them to do more things like that.
That's something the kids won't forget. They may not remember who wiped their tables, but they won't forget that aspect of their lives.
California, whose 2 sons got Eagle Scout projects doing the garden spaces for schools, so setting up all the, plots and dealing with all of that. So sometimes you can get volunteer work like that to get the things going.
So I recommend a couple of things. Wherever you want to take this individually, let's find how we can help you on this. Is it personally just for yourself? You want to start growing and learning? Then maybe through some of the apps or through little changes. I brought little changes tonight. It's a discounted price for this evening. It's $15 if you'd like a copy to take for yourself. If you would like to support and watch this chapter grow, where they want to involve and start creating discussion and support the community. You can be a guest for 90 days if you want. $36 is the membership for a year. It basically covers the cost of our volunteer-driven nonprofit organization. So I think there's the budget-friendly tips on the Savvy Women's Alliance website if you want to start with those. But please just let us know how we can help you and how we can all work together as well.
Okay, and the other thing to add is obviously the point that came up about volunteers. We've already shown how powerful groups of volunteers can be through the Holliston Innovates work that we're doing and bringing together the innovation to the classrooms and supporting our teachers that way. So if you have strong feelings on something, the best way to do it is to get together, to tell your friends, to get your networks together and make sure that it's one common message coming through, and that's the way to get things done. I'd like to say a huge thank you to our 3 speakers for giving their time this evening. And to everybody for being here tonight. Kristi will be around for some time afterwards. Those of you that won the book, she'd be happy to sign it for you. And if you'd like to purchase one, then please do so. And all 3 speakers will be here for another 10 minutes or so if you've got any individual questions. Thank you.